A decade ago, rift gates suddenly tore open into their world, unleashing monsters and unprecedented chaos. However, the energy seeping through these portals also triggered unique mutations in some individuals. These individuals, possessing newfound abilities, were known as the Awakened. Among them, those who became hunters took on the task of hunting down the monstrous creatures. But for Kang Ji Young, this reality was far from empowering. Kang Ji Young was an ordinary and often targeted student at his high school, a loser among the Awakened. His unique ability was regeneration, an S-rank ability, which ironically made his life even worse. Bullies tormented him, finding enjoyment in his pain as he healed from their attacks. Because his wounds would vanish, evidence of their bullying disappeared, leaving teachers and authorities powerless, especially against these privileged S-rank students backed by the government. Kang Ji Young endured it all for the sake of his mother, as his father also passed away when he was just 5. He hid his suffering behind a smile whenever his mother inquired about school. He made her believe everything was fine, promising that he would become a hunter after graduating, enduring the hardships for their better future. With his abilities, he aimed to become a C-rank hunter, earning enough to provide a better life. He told his mother they would find happiness. Yet, everything crumbled on his mother's birthday. His mother fell into a vegetative state due to a brutal attack by his school bullies. The attack occurred at her restaurant, where she was serving food. One of the bullies, boasting his ability to create diamonds, harassed her. When his mother recoiled and accidentally broke the bully's phone, he violently attacked her in a fit of rage, claiming his powers were triggered by anger. Kang Ji Young, consumed by fury, clenched his teeth so hard that they broke off and he ripped his own flesh with his bare hands. Elsewhere, one of the bullies questioned the morality of their actions. Another bully brushed it off, confident that nobody cares about her and their awakened status and youth would shield them from consequences. When his friend pushed further, he revealed it wasn't his first time hurting someone. At this moment, Kang Ji Young confronted them, his anger simmering. He demanded answers, calling him out for trying to kill his mother. The bully taunted him, mentioning his mother's youthful appearance, provoking even more rage from Ji Young. In his heightened state of fury, Ji Young lunged at them, only to be impaled by a sharp diamond spear. The diamond pierced his chest, causing him to fall to his knees. The bully casually remarked about his flirtation with Ji Young's mother. With trembling hands, Ji Young extracted the crystal, enduring excruciating pain as his chest regenerated. Despite the agony, he mustered the strength to confront them again. The bully conjured more diamond spears, aiming them at Ji Young before retracting them, causing the spears to pierce him once more. He taunted Ji Young, questioning his worth and insulting him as a loser. Despite the profuse bleeding, Ji Young rose to his feet, fueled by both rage and determination. He charged at them once more, the sharp crystals still embedded in his body, tears mixing with his fury. Enduring the torment, he pressed on, resolute in his pursuit. As he closed in, the bully signaled his friend, Thor, to attack him. Thor glanced at Ji Young briefly before launching a massive thunderbolt that struck him down. Toppling under the onslaught, Ji Young crumpled to the ground, lifeless. As he lay motionless, the assailants walked past him, displaying their disdain by spitting on him. Yet, he summoned the strength to grab onto the man's foot. Resolute determination infused his voice as he provoked the man. In response, the man covered his hand in diamond and began raining punches on Ji Young. Each blow carried blame for his inability to shield his mother, and the man even questioned Ji Young's right to feel anger. A diamond-infused punch to Ji Young's face disfigured him, but he met his attacker's gaze defiantly, further fueling the man's fury. Observing this, the man beckoned his comrade, Sandman, and commanded him to dig. Sandman complied without hesitation. Weakly, Ji Young glared at them, cursing their names, but the man merely gestured dismissively. Thor inquired about the man's intentions, only to be silenced abruptly. With a display of power, the man unleashed diamond shards, ensnaring Ji Young within their confines. Through his pain, Ji Young vowed to exact revenge. A smirk curved the man's lips as he challenged Ji Young to escape if he could. Eventually, they buried Ji Young deep underground, entombed within a diamond coffin. Ji Young strained against the diamonds, only to realize his efforts were in vain, sparking a torrent of curses born from frustration. He cried out for help, hoping his pleas would reach someone, but alas, even his voice and struggle couldn't penetrate that diamond. Late, the scarcity of air became apparent. He fought for breath, his body racked with agony, his consciousness slipping in and out. His regenerative ability prevented him from dying, but every moment was a relentless ordeal. Desperation gripped him as he seized a sharp diamond, driving it into his neck in hopes of ending his torment forever. Yet, even this mercy was denied by his regenerative powers. As he endured excruciating pain, he recalled his mother's smile, his own suffering rendering him utterly powerless. He realized how his mother must have felt in that moment and even now. Clenching his fists in a surge of fury and determination for his revenge, he assaulted the diamond, unyielding in his determination to escape. He lost all sense of time. He was resolute in his conviction to survive. With inflamed rage, he hammered the diamond, resolutely seeking freedom. 5 years elapsed. The news broadcasted a live meeting with renowned S-rank hunters. The host lauded their generosity and philanthropy, highlighting their charitable endeavors. One of them expressed their joy in assisting others, a sentiment that continued to inspire them, leaving the audience amazed. The host then questioned them about an incident from 5 years ago when they allegedly harmed an innocent due to their uncontrolled abilities. The men fell silent briefly, and one of them feigned tears, explaining that the victim had been the mother of a dear friend of his. He confessed that, as a student, he had struggled to control his powers. He admitted to apologizing to his friend but failing to reconnect since then. He voiced a desire to offer another apology, but before he could, a massive door hurtled toward him. Swiftly evading the attack with his abilities, he questioned the unfolding chaos. Panic gripped the audience as an immense figure entered the room, the ground trembling with each step. Fixing his gaze on the 3 men, the colossal skeletal being encountered only calm stares in return. With a ferocious lunge, the monster charged at one of the men. In the past, Jihyoung's determination to escape never faded. He pondered the passage of months, perhaps even years, his diamond prison remaining unbroken. He discovered that his regenerative ability has evolved. The repeated injuries triggered accelerated regeneration and forming a more durable tissue. An exoskeleton gradually enveloped his body as he persisted in damaging and repairing his form within the confines of his grave. It was a treacherous process, marked by bloodshed, torn flesh, and fractured bones. The torment surpassed mere physical agony, yet he pressed on, driven by an unshakable resolve. Eventually, he managed to break open the diamond coffin, liberating himself, and pledged to deliver his revenge upon his tormentors. The force of his punch sent the man flying backwards and unconscious. Thor stood frozen, confronting the sight of the colossal skeletal figure. Jihyoung recalled the man's taunting challenge to seek vengeance only if he ever managed to escape. With this triumphant realization, Jihyoung announced his return and the beginning of his vengeance. The man managed to stand up and ordered his friends to kill the monster. Thor activated his power and launched a thunderbolt at him, but to their shock, he resisted its impact. Clenching his teeth in anger, he charged towards Thor and lopped his head off. The group was stunned as they saw their friend's head roll in the air before Thor's body collapsed to the ground. Sandman immediately raised the ground and attacked him with it. The ground surrounded him, and Sandman trapped the monster inside it, but Jihyoung just grinned and broke out of the confinement easily. He brutally grabbed Sandman by the mouth and ripped out half of his jaw, causing Sandman to cover his mouth in agony. However, he immediately pounced on Sandman and impaled his face to death without even noticing the man punching him from behind. With all of his might, the man punched Jihyoung's head from behind, but his diamond hand cracked upon impact, shocking him. Over the years, the man improved his diamond abilities and constructed thousands of sharp diamond spears. The man then launched all of them at the monster. They pierced him repeatedly. The spears even pierced Jihyoung's head, but he was awestruck when he saw that Jihyoung could still move as if nothing happened. Jihyoung slowly stood up, causing the man to recoil in terror. In fear, the man covered his body with diamond armor and slowly transformed into a diamond form. Then the man punched him in the chin, drew back his hand, and struck him again in the shoulder and body, making him bleed profusely. Yet the man didn't stop and continued his assault. The man punched him in the mouth, but the monster bit down on the man's diamond hand, trapping it and breaking it. This shocked the man. Jihyoung stabbed him with his sharp skeletal sword and the man collapsed to the ground and writhed in pain. Jihyoung glared at him with fury, and the man screamed in pain as he impaled the man's body. Even though the man was in a dire situation, he managed to activate his power and formed a sharp, big diamond that pierced the monster's body. But his bite force was so strong that it maintained its grip and ripped his arm clean off. The man immediately attempted to escape, but Jihyoung threw a sharp diamond spear at him, causing him to fall to the ground. Jihyoung then slowly walked towards him while collecting the diamond spears on ground. The man tried to crawl away, pleading for him to stay away and stop, but Jihyoung impaled him repeatedly with the spears, causing him to bleed profusely. Even after being impaled with numerous spears, the man still managed to ask Jihyoung who he was, and why he was doing this to him. Jihyoung grabbed his overgrown half-skull and ripped it off, shocking the man. He realized that the monster was Jihyoung all along. Jihyoung punched the man's head with his all might, but he was not satisfied with it and proceeded to punch the man repeatedly. Then he grabbed the man's neck, and he drove his skeletal sword into the man's mouth, causing the man to shiver and cry out in pain before finally passing away. Jihyoung pulled his hand out of the man's mouth and stood stunned for a moment. He looked around and saw Thor and Sandman decapitated and the man who tried to kill his mother lying dead. He saw his own reflection in the blood pool surrounding him. He realized what he had become: a monster. All because of the monsters laying dead on the floor, who in the end made him just like them. He recalled the time when he went to the hospital to check on his mother's condition. He was shocked and relieved to see her eyes were finally open, but she was still immobile, which made him weep in sorrow. Later somewhere, a group of people entered a rift gate. The man thanked the woman for accompanying them, acknowledging his own diligent work. Another man then asked her to confirm if it was her first time venturing so deep into the gate. The woman confirmed and expressed gratitude for their protection. Suddenly, the man's expression shifted to the creepy side as he explained they were, in fact, the ones feeling grateful. One of them pointed out the uncertainty that anything can happen to her and no one will know. Such remarks sent shivers of fear through her. One man grabbed her hands and molested her, stating it takes at least a month to return from there, and expressed his plan to spend all that time with her. Just as he was about to move closer to her face, an unknown dark figure appeared behind him, beheading him instantly. This sudden incident sent the group in panic. When the woman turned, she was shocked to find a skeletal monster standing before her. Another man attacked Jihyoung, remarking how come such monsters are still alive in the rift. The man was shocked to see his attack didn't affect him. One man launched a retaliatory strike, but his blade shattered into pieces upon hitting Jihyoung's skeletal armor. This caused him to recoil in disbelief. Jihyoung then proceeded to behead the man with ease and threw his head onto the ground along the previous one. The surviving men froze in shock, unable to comprehend the existence of such a monstrous entity within the rift, and what just happened before their eyes. Unfazed, Jihyoung swung his sword at them, severing their heads with ease. He then approached the woman trembling in fear, anticipating the worst, after what she saw him do. She closed her eyes, but all he did was glare at her. This unexpected action surprised the woman, who managed to express her gratitude to Jihyoung, who immediately decapitated her as well. While covered in the girl's blood, he recalls how he ended up becoming a complete monster. After avenging his mother, Jihyoung contemplates and weeps over the dire situation his mother and his own life are in. Suddenly, a voice echoed the hall, commending his actions and asking how he feels after delivering his vengeance. He retorted by asking who she was. She introduced herself as Sim Jaeon, the head of the Korean Hunter Association. He inquires how she knew him, to which she responded that she'd been observing him since a certain incident 5 years prior, which left him intrigued. He tried to launch an attack at her, but she immediately claimed to be the one who could save his mother, causing him to halt his attack. The force of his strike caused the debris to fly behind her. He asked her to repeat what she just said, and she confirmed her ability to be capable to awaken his mother, as she is the only S-rank healer in the entire world. He questioned her reliability, but she laughed and revealed that it was she who had kept his mother alive, not the mundane efforts of the hospital, all while he was underground. After a moment of silence, he asked what she wants from him. She accepts the fact that hunters are too powerful to handle. Even most powerful military forces are no match for the hunters. Some are even capable of withstanding nuclear forces. Thanks to them, majority of the monsters inside the rift had been eliminated. However, the rift gates remains open. The rift channels devoid of monsters serve as short pathways around the world. Nations are leveraging them for covert warfare using their hunters. And Korea suffers from lack of sufficient hunters to handle them. They can't prevent the Japanese invasion without his help. She explained that responding to Japan with their own hunters would risk triggering an all-out war between them, but a covert monster wouldn't cause such breakout. Back from his memories, he placed the head of the Japanese girl on her lap and gazed at a picture of his mother, recalling Sim's deal. She would save his mother only if he agrees to be their monster. Meanwhile, in Japan, at the Prime Minister's office, a conversation is underway. The Prime Minister engages in dialogue with his Defense Minister. The PM inquires if there are powerful monsters inside the gate. The Minister responds with a simple, no. The PM repeats his question about the presence of powerful hunters in Korea, and once again, the Minister's response is a negative one. This incites anger within the PM, Japanese Prime Minister Ryuzaki Judo, who demands to know why their hunters haven't taken control of Korea. In response, the minister apologizes and assures Judo that he will personally resolve the issue. Judo seeks details about the plan of action. The man's response is a smirk. Japan's top hunter, Ikosai Kazuru, assures Judo that he will handle the matter himself. Kazuru exits the PM's office and instructs his assistant to prepare his sword immediately. His assistant questions if he plans to go alone, to which he firmly replies, yes. The lady, considering the elite status of previous hunters, wonders why he doesn't bring others. In response, Kazuru retorts angrily, asking if he appears to need help. This prompts the lady to apologize for underestimating him. A few moments later, Kazuru enters the rift, pondering the failure of elite hunters before him. But there is a grim sight that awaits him. He discovers a monster seated amidst a pile of deceased hunters. Enraged, he attacks Jihyoung, who surprisingly blocks his sword with his arm, stunning Kazuru. Kazuru launches another attack, but Jihyoung blocks it. Kazuru questions how Jihyoung dares to block his sword and strikes him in the stomach. He employs his first moon skill, causing Jihyoung to stagger back and cough up blood. Kazuru doesn't stop there. He proceeds with his second moon skill, smashing Jihyoung against the wall. However, he realizes Jihyoung's exoskeleton is incredibly resilient. Kazuru uses his third moon attack, aiming for Jihyoung's head. But Jihyoung manages to dodge and counterattack with his skeletal sword, nearly severing Kazuru's head. Kazuru narrowly avoids decapitation and swiftly chops off Jihyoung's arm and effortlessly beheads him. As Jihyoung's lifeless body falls to the ground, he recalls memories of his father. His father was a kind and warm man, working tirelessly to take good care of his family. Despite facing challenges, their family was happy. However, as good things never last forever, neither did their happiness. Sadly, his father passed away in an accident due to his childish innocence. This tragic loss plunged the family into debt and hardship. His mother worked tirelessly to provide for them. Throughout the day, she would conceal her grief and sorrow behind her smiling face. However, at night, all of her sorrow would overwhelm her. This didn't go unnoticed by Jihyoung. He blamed himself for the fall of their happiness. One day, Jihyoung reached a breaking point and attempted to demonetize himself, but he came to realize that he was one of the awakened. With a newfound resolve, Jihyoung promised his mother that he would become a hunter and restore her happiness. He also remembered what Yun had told him about the broken state of the world. He will have to become a monster to save Korea and his mother. Jihyoung reinvigorated his resolve and begins to regenerate his severed head and body. Meanwhile, Kazuru questions why the elite hunters fell to such a weak creature. He acknowledges that he has spent too much time on this mission and decides to march forward and take over Korea all by himself. Unbeknownst to him, Jihyoung, now with a bare-boned skeleton, crawls toward him. Suddenly, Jihyoung bites Kazuru's ankle, shocking him. Panic sets in as Kazuru notices Jihyoung's regenerative ability, prompting Jihyoung to bite even harder, causing Kazuru intense pain. Kazuru retaliates by swinging his sword in a lunar crescent shape, activating his power and separating Jihyoung from his foot. Enraged, Kazuru points his sword at Jihyoung and retreats to the center of his lunar power. He vanishes into thin air and circles Jihyoung at a super-fast speed before unleashing his Cage-Ru fatal 12th moon attack. Reducing Jihyoung to tiny pieces with a powerful burst. Kazuru walks away, leaving a damaged rift channel and a crater, expressing surprise at Jihyoung's bite. He acknowledges the need for urgent healing. Suddenly, a sharp bone pierces his other leg, stunning him. Emerging from the darkness, Jihyoung, now just a bare-bone skeleton, crawls toward Kazuru. Panicked, Kazuru grips his sword tightly and launches a full-force attack on Jihyoung. Meanwhile, at the Rift Gate, the Prime Minister, his secretary, and other elites await Kazuru. The secretary questions the need for so many elites, to which Judo explains that 3 days have passed since Kazuru's entry into the rift. He emphasizes the Minister of Defense's status as Japan's top hunter, hinting at the gravity of the situation. Before Judo can finish, Kazuru's decapitated head rolls out of the rift gate, followed by Jihyoung's slow emergence. Shocked and enraged, Judo attempts to roar but is swiftly beheaded by Jihyoung. Elsewhere, in the Korean Hunter Association, concerns arise about Yun's plan due to Jihyoung's actions, including the death of Jihyoung's son. The man warns that sending Jihyoung to Japan is risky, but Yun remains unfazed, smiling confidently. She challenges the doubter, sparking curiosity about Jihyoung's potential to confront Japan's mightiest SSS rank hunter. The scene shifts once more as Judo's severed head reconnects to his body. Judo activates his full power, smashing Jihyoung onto the ground and causing the surroundings to crack and fill with magma. Japan's Prime Minister Ryuzaki Judo stands over the unconscious Jihyoung as the strongest number 0 and SSS ranked hunter.